Hey folks, Gene Valentino here, getting warmed up for another episode of Gene Valentino's Grassroots Truthcast. But I wouldn't be complete without a good cup of Joe from Mike Lindell from My Pillow. Mike Lindell's My Coffee, a specialty coffee, 100% Arabica, certified organic, and non-GMO. This I'm tasting this morning is the dark roast. It's absolutely delicious, and it's so smooth. You got to get an order in on this non-GMO Arabica Mike Lindell's My Coffee. You'll find it online. Join us.
Okay, so a lot going on this week. What's on your mind?
Well, I'm stunned. We're watching right live on news right now. The Fed's giving strong consideration to curtailing the billions of dollars of funding that they've been giving to Harvard University. Hello, I think that's a little overdue. And while you're at it, Harvard, why don't you take the billions you have in your foundation trust funds, along with the rest of the Ivy Leaguers, and repay those student loans you expected to be pushed onto the backs of the American people? How about you guys paying back those student loans, since you're feeling so generous, and then helping those poor souls realize that they've needed to work hard and compete to learn and to achieve in the academic environment, so that they can then transcend that training into the workplace? Not They haven't been doing that. Everyone's supposed to get an A. 78% of the people at Harvard get A's. There's no competitive nature in the academic environment anymore. What's wrong with you? They've just got to get an A like everyone else, or they'll feel deprived or disadvantaged. This is a competitive world with competitive people, and Xi Jinping and Putin know that game well. They've kept us in a state of euphoria and wokeness, and God willing, we will wake up before it's too late. This Biden impeachment inquiry's now underway, and I think much more will be revealed, and the Democrats are scared to you know what.
I think there's some when you said scared, I'm not sure if it's scared. I think there's terror in the hearts of Democrats right now. If you look around at what's going on, they're very good at sort of passing everything off to the Republicans. It's the Republicans' fault. It's always been. We expect that. But when you really look at what's going on behind the scenes, and you hear some of the things that are happening behind the scenes, you realize that Democrats are in a world of hurt. When they start seeing like the black community starting to peel off and think about voting for Republicans. I mean, this is a possibility. Donald Trump got more black votes than any president in modern history that I know of. And then, of course, you've got the Hispanic community, which has taken a hard line against the, believe it or not, the people that came here from other countries legally. They are against illegal immigration. Who'd have thought that?
Isn't that clever? It's funny you mentioned we've had a tug of war on the issue of the centralization of government and the importance of not splintering it off, and the other side of the issue over these last episodes, where we wanted to push more of the authority to the states, because the Constitution says if it's not mandated under national federal constitution oversight, that it should be relegated to the state's legislative bodies. And here is an example where that might be dangerous. Here we have millions of peoples infiltrating our nation now. And when they reach the various states throughout the nation, they are subject to the rules of those states. Well, when they arrive by train, bus, or airplane, they're getting a little packet of goodies, including a credit card and a cell phone. Guess what else they're getting? They're getting a Democrat Party registration card to fill out and to hand back. They don't know what the Constitution is. They don't understand the Bill of Rights. They don't understand the power in their vote. They understand socialism and Marxism, which is what they're running away from. And here they are being given a Democrat Party registration form to fill out. Now, you mentioned the African Americans leaving the Democrat Party. Bravo, because that's more important, Michael. They're doing it in droves at a much greater degree with much greater conviction than these migrants. It reminds me of the Cuban boat lift when they came into South Florida, the Cubans. Once they realized what the heck they were getting behind, they all switched parties. Most of them are Republicans, and those that are Democrats, I consider conservative Democrats or moderate. And that's okay. We're entitled to our different flavors in this nation. But the attempt to overtake our government, 2 million, Michael, 2 million GotAways thus far. The operative word you used earlier, terror, as in terrorism. It's at the height of concern. It's heightened in all of our federal agency, and the Biden crime family doesn't hear it or they don't care. I don't know which is worse, but we have now concerns that are serious as we enter this beautiful time of year in our Christmas holiday thinking and feeling and shopping and everything else. I'm concerned about heightened terrorism. I'll have one eyeball looking over my shoulder.
Let's do something a little different. Let's move to a better subject. Let's talk about why we should be thankful that we are Americans. And that's one of the reasons why all of these people want to come here. And in this Christmas season, when there are still a lot of people out there in the world that don't get to enjoy the freedoms that we do. And even as tough as it is right now, we've lived through a lot of tougher things in this country. But for God's sake, we had a civil war. We lived through that. It was not easy. It was a long period of time to readjust. But here we are, a country still, and the only really free country in the world. Now, we do have people in our country who would give up those freedoms for more security. However, I think some very wise men that lived before us told us not to give up those liberties for the momentary freedom, the momentary security that you get, because you will lose your freedom. And so thank goodness that we have the country that we have today, and we're able to still get on this radio, talk to each other about issues, and not be concerned about a government censor coming in and saying, you can't do that anymore. You can't talk about that. Although they want to try, and certainly you find that there are certain folks in our country that don't want they don't want the voices of the opposition to be heard. But we can still do it. So if we're still doing it, we're still free. And if we're still free, we can still make a difference in the elections coming up next year. And that's what we should be doing. And we should be thankful that we live in a country that can allow us to do that, I think.
Bravo, Michael Pohl. You've expressed the essence of what our constitutional republic tries to espouse through a term called democracy, embedded in principles in our Constitution, the articles of our Constitution, and the subsequent Bill of Rights and amendments. You have captured what our founding fathers were intending to do when they created principles, and it was religious based too, wasn't it? It wasn't an abrogation of faith. It was incorporating faith into those, which is where those principles came from. Admittedly, we had to distinguish it more carefully and use the term division of church and state, which is when individual sects of religious faith could not dominate or control us. But in the Christmas spirit, although it's a Christian faith, it espouses principles that are universal in every faith. And I think that's what's exciting about why our governance is elastic enough to tolerate and welcome the diversity. The problem is that some of this diversity has slipped in over the border, and it's not founded in the good spirit you and I just described. It's founded in hate, desecration, and the total annihilation of such faith. And therefore, we may lose segments of our society to a bad cult of people that have openly expressed their willingness to take out nations, just as Hamas is trying to do through the Gaza Strip to the Israelis, just as Putin's trying to do in a second attempt in Ukraine, just as China's trying to do now by initiating a bad regime in the Taiwan Straits in an attempt we fear will be against Taiwan in the near future. These aggressions have become more obvious as of late, and we best step up to protect from that occurring. That doesn't mean we should lose our faith. Or, you mentioned something else. This nation had a British assault on America in the early days when these same founding fathers were trying to create this nation. They said openly, if you find any of these rebels, which are now our heroes, our founding fathers, the British was saying, if you find them speaking about this new concept in America of freedom and liberty, let us know, because we want to string them up and hang them from the highest tree in their front yard as a example of what we're not going to tolerate. And those
Exactly.
same people
Yeah.
you and I don't know.
Those guys could actually have very easily been strung up, and we never heard about them again. No question about it.
Oh, they
But
were. And they were defending you and me.
that's right. And isn't that somewhat happening again today? Can we say Donald Trump? They're coming after him. And believe you me, if they could string him up, they would. If they could do it, they would do it. They're trying to do it in underhanded ways, which sometimes to me is, you see what they're doing and it just makes you nauseous. But in any case, they're coming after him because they want you.
We've got a beautiful nation embedded in a democracy with a faith, and let's not forget it. God bless America, and Merry Christmas, Michael and Ted.
Merry Christmas. We'll see you soon.